Just because he visited his mother's grave for the first time in 20 years, the man suddenly and inexplicably traveled back to being 14 years old. The old man was named Vanya. He was already 50 years old. Looking at the record showing his mother died at 48, he was overwhelmed with emotion. While he was lost in grief, a white butterfly suddenly appeared. It fluttered and circled in front of Vanya's eyes. Vanya's gaze unconsciously followed it. Suddenly a strong wave of dizziness hit him. He began to lose consciousness. Then everything went black, and he completely passed out. No one knew how long had passed when Vanya slowly woke up. The sky had already cleared from overcast to sunny. The sunlight was a bit blinding. He felt his body was filled with endless strength. The exhaustion of living half a lifetime was completely gone. He had no time to think further. All he could think about was the train home. There happened to be an unlocked bicycle by the roadside. He got on it without hesitation. While riding toward the station, Vanya began to sense something was wrong. The roadside billboards looked decades old. The cars on the streets were models only seen in old films. The whole town had returned to a lively, familiar past. It was completely different from the decline he had seen before. His confusion grew deeper, until he passed by a shop. In the glass window, he saw his reflection. It was not the face of a 50-year-old man, but a thin, youthful teenage boy. He froze completely, and all of this began a few hours earlier. It was supposed to be his birthday that day. He was dozing on a train heading home. A conductor stood in front of him asking to see his ticket. Vanya did not think much of it. He calmly handed over the ticket. But what the conductor said next instantly woke him up.
Vous êtes trompé de train.
Ah non, c'est pas le train pour Paris?
Non.
Et au prochain arrêt, je pourrais revenir en arrière?
Mais ça vaudrait mieux.
The conductor told him he had boarded the wrong train. Vanya was completely confused. He had taken this route home for 20 years. He could not possibly have made a mistake. And today was his 50th birthday. His family was waiting with a cake to celebrate. But the conductor insisted it was a train heading toward the countryside. Vanya tried to argue, but the rules were final. He was told to get off at the next station. The train passed through a dark tunnel and slowly stopped. The doors opened and Vanya was forced to step out. He arrived at an unfamiliar small station. Surrounded by endless mountains, the station looked old and remote. The train left immediately without stopping, cutting off any chance for him to return. He looked at his watch. There were still 6 hours until the next return train. He took out his phone to call his wife, but no one answered. Just as confusion set in, a familiar place name sign stopped him in his tracks. This was his hometown, which he had left over 20 years ago. Since he could not return for now, Vanya decided to go somewhere. He wanted to visit his late mother. He walked through the streets of his hometown with his suitcase. Everything here had changed. The once lively town in his memory was now quiet and desolate. There was no one he recognized. He even began to doubt whether he had ever truly lived here. Following faint memories, he passed through narrow alleys. Finally, in a corner of the cemetery, he saw his mother's grave. And what happened next returned to the beginning of the story. That sudden fainting episode sent him back to when he was 14. After the initial shock, a strong thought drove him forward. He needed to go home. He wanted to see those long-gone people again. He ran toward home, almost on instinct. The house he remembered as long abandoned was standing there with his young father at the door. The man who had disappeared from his life decades ago was standing right in front of him. Vanya could not say a word. He rushed past his father into the house. From the kitchen came a familiar voice. He saw the figure he had missed all his life.
Quelque chose ne va pas? Tu as encore mal à la tête? Frais comme un carton.
Non, j'ai oublié.
His mother walked toward him with concern. She gently touched his forehead. That real physical touch completely broke his emotions. He confirmed it was not an illusion. He had truly returned to the past. He went back to his room. He saw his childhood toys and photographs. He saw his father's watch on the desk. The same watch he would later keep for years. His younger sister ran in and hugged him, then kissed him on the cheek. Her innocent joy filled him with warmth. That night, the whole family sat around the table, eating the food his mother cooked. A scene he had imagined countless times finally became real. Even though he was now an adult in mind, his eyes still burned with emotion. Looking at this complete family, Vanya felt overwhelming satisfaction. But then he noticed something strange. His father was still sitting at the table calmly. In his memory, his father should have left home on June 5th. That departure had been the beginning of the family tragedy. The family lost its financial support. His mother had to bear everything alone. Life collapsed, and she eventually died from exhaustion. Vanya had always believed that if he could go back and change that moment, everything would be different. He picked up a newspaper nearby. The date was June 12th. It had already passed the day his father was supposed to leave. History seemed to have been changed. His father stayed, and life continued peacefully. The next day, his mother gently woke him up. His mind was still confused from everything yesterday, but he soon realized he had not woken up from the experience. He was still a 14-year-old boy. He stood in front of the mirror, studying his youthful body, the soft face and flat stomach. These long-lost physical traits felt strange and new. His mother smiled seeing him in front of the mirror. His sister was waiting downstairs to go to school with him. His mother gave him pocket money from her wallet. This simple gesture symbolized his return to being a child cared for and protected by his parents. Vanya bought a large bag of candy to share with his sister. He completely settled into his teenage identity. Enjoying this second youth, they entered school again, that once intimidating place, but now it felt strangely familiar. In the classroom he looked around. He saw many familiar faces restored to their younger selves, including his best friend Russo. A simple nod reignited their silent understanding. Class felt long and exhausting as always. Even with an adult mind, 45 minutes still felt endless, yet even boredom now felt precious. There were calming oils in his desk. The textbooks were filled with doodles. These details carried a deep sense of nostalgia. Among the students leaving school, his eyes caught a familiar figure, Sylvie, the girl he once had a crush on. She was not only the inspiration for his drawings, but also his unspoken first love. With an adult mindset, Vanya became more confident. He no longer feared authority at school. He even openly challenged a teacher in class. This unusual behavior caught Sylvie's attention. After school, Sylvie waited for him on his usual path. She asked to walk home together. Vanya walked beside her, trying to hide his excitement. When they parted, Sylvie kissed him on the cheek. Back home, happiness filled the house. He played music and danced freely. His sister joined in joyfully. Even his mother was infected by the happiness. The house was filled with laughter again. But the father's return immediately broke the atmosphere. The moment he opened the door, an invisible weight filled the room. Laughter vanished and silence took over. Vanya realized the father's issue was not truly solved. He had only stayed temporarily. To understand the truth, Vanya went to visit his grandmother with a heavy heart, hoping to find answers, even if unclear.